Hey everybody, so we're back with OPSEC Part 3. In this one we're going to be talking about patching, not the sexiest topic in the world, but very important to OPSEC. And that won't take too long to go through, but we need to talk about it. And then we're also going to talk about UFW, Linux's firewall. And I'm going to go through, show you guys how to get that set up and get you protected from that perspective. Probably, honestly, guys, the next couple of these OPSEC videos are going to be focused on, setting up things like UFW, setting up things like AppArmor, and explaining to you what those things do and really getting your machine hardened. So that'll probably the next couple of videos are going to be focused around that. And also, before we get started, the channel's gaining a little bit of traction. I wanted to say thank you to all the new subscribers. I really appreciate it. And also, all you OGs that have been around since I started this thing back in January, I think. Appreciate you guys, too, for sticking around. Okay, well, let's get down to it. All right, patching. Patching. Not sexy. Not the most interesting thing. But when it comes to real world attack, guys, they're not done with some fancy 0-day. They're done because your machine's not patched, right? So anyone looking to get into your stuff, they're going to be looking for unpatched browsers, kernels, libraries, things like that. Okay, and patching closes the door. If you look at any government security guide, every corporate hardening manual, you ask any pen tester, they're going to tell you that patching is the single most important step. Okay, it doesn't matter how good the rest of your OPSEC is. If your machine's not patched, you're in trouble. Okay, so how do we go about doing this? What's the proper way to patch? Okay, so the first thing you do every day when you log in, you need to run sudo. Let me bump this up a little bit for y'all. You need to run sudo apt update. Okay, and what this is going to do, this is going to contact Debian servers and any. So you see here, I've got Brave, for instance, right? And I've got a couple of other ones. One's being really laggy for some reason. I think it's the Docker one. It's been really laggy. But yeah, so basically any sources that you have added to your source list, this is going to ping those repos and check if there's any new security updates, anything's been fixed, or basically just what's new, right? And then, if you don't run apt update, Debian may not even know these updates exist, right? So then what you can do is then you can check to, you see here, I don't have any, all packages are up to date. I don't have any upgrades. If you did, it would tell you how many packages you needed to upgrade, and then you could run sudo apt list upgradable, and that would actually show you a list. If you did have anything available, that would actually show you a list of what the individual packages that are available for upgrading. Now, when you want to upgrade, you can do sudo apt upgrade. Okay, and what that's going to do is that's going to install new versions of installed packages, security updates, and bug fixes, right? It doesn't remove packages or it doesn't install new ones. It's perfectly safe, right? You should upgrade every day and make it a habit, okay? Now, you can also do a full system upgrade, right? Like, so say that, dependencies change or kernels need replacing, you can run a sudo apt full upgrade. And so this allows Debian to install, remove, or replace packages if needed to complete a security update. So Debian's dependency resolution is pretty badass. So don't be afraid of this command. Okay. Now you also need to check when you do an upgrade. You need to check if a reboot's required, and you can do this with this command here. So this is the way that I do it. I typically have a script that I write that does this, and this just returns a plain English message to you if the boot's not required. But quickly, what this is doing is this is checking if this file exists, right? If this file doesn't exist, you don't need to reboot your machine, so you could just run that command, and if the file's there, you need to reboot. Okay. So yeah, if the file's there, reboot. If you patch the kernel, you should reboot. If you update OpenSSL or glibc or something like that, you should reboot. And if you don't know, if you're not sure, just go ahead and reboot. Okay. Now, you need to enable automatic security updates. Okay, to stay patched. So we're going to install the unattended upgrade system. So this is a background system that automatically installs security updates. It does this quietly, doesn't ask you anything, it's on a timer, it just does this every day. Okay, it keeps logs of the changes, right, so you can ensure that critical fixes are applied, even if you forget, right? It doesn't upgrade anything, right? It's only concerned about stability and security. Okay, so to install it, you can run sudo apt install unattended upgrades, right? I've already got this installed, okay? And then what you need to do is you need to enable it, right? Sudo dpkg reconfigure unattended upgrades, right? This will zero this, you just hit yes, and then you're good to go, okay? Now, so what this is going to do is this is going to automatically install updates every day, right? It logs everything and runs safely in the background, okay? It's automatic bill pay for your security patches. So, don't rely on your memory, rely on this automation, okay? Even if you forget to update for a week, at least this will make sure that you're up to date on your security stuff, okay? Your security fixes. Now, I always check this stuff. It's very important that you guys know where these configuration files are for all of these services, and you need to check them. Okay, so for instance, let's check the unattended upgrades, right? So we'll do sudo vim, and then it's under etc. It's under etc apt. apt.conf. Well, hang on, I'm just going to do it this way. There, and then unattended upgrades, right there. So, the main thing that you're looking for to start out is you're looking for these, okay? These lines right here, okay? So this is basically, you notice these are uncommented. So this means that, the system's being protected, right? This means that security patches are being auto-installed for this distribution. So we're good there, okay? So yeah, always check these configuration files, guys, to just make sure that they're doing what you think they're doing. Okay, so, and then what we can do is you can test unattended updates immediately just to make sure that it is working. So you can do sudo unattended upgrade with the D parameter, okay? And you'll see here we got no packages found that can be upgraded, unattended, and no pending auto removals. So it's working, all right? Okay, now that's basically it about patching, guys. That's really the core crux of it. If you do this, you're good, right? If you do your updates every day, you upgrade those, do your full system upgrades when you need to, make sure that reboot when you need to. Your unattended upgrade system, enable that. That's going to take care of you security wise. Verify it, and then test it. And once you get all that done, you're good to go from the patching perspective. So that's pretty much it. All right. So, okay, let's talk about UFW and firewalls. Okay, so firewall. So let's talk about, okay, well, what are firewalls, all right? So, they're basically a security doorman, right? They decide what packets come into your system and what packets leave it, okay? There's multiple types of firewalls. You got network firewalls, right? Think pfSense or OpenSense. These are like corporate perimeter firewalls. These filter traffic between networks, right? So think like your internet, like the internet and LAN, okay? And then there's host-based, which we'll be doing today, or system level, that these filter traffic on your local machine, right? What your system can receive or send. There's application level firewalls like mod security for web apps that filter HTTP traffic, and then there's next gen firewalls, NGFWs. Marketing jibber jabber for a firewall with some intrusion detection stuff in it. Okay, so UFW. So first off, install it. So sudo apt install UFW. I've already got it installed. And that's, so what does this do, right? So why would you want to do this? Okay, so your machine has a ton of network capable services on it. Some of these services you know about, some of them you don't. You don't really know what everything that's going on, right? And so that's one of the reasons you want a firewall. You don't, you want to really keep tabs over what these services are doing on your machine, and you want to ensure they're not letting stuff in that you don't want, right? Now, a firewall will prevent outside systems from communicating with those services. Even if software is unpatched, firewall can prevent a lot of exploitation attempts. I'm not saying that you can use a firewall in lieu of patching, but because you stack, right? It's all about stacking security. And another thing is firewalls. We're talking about a core tenet of OPSEC is intentional connectivity only, right? Remember, OPSEC is about certainty. We don't want to leave anything up to chance with this stuff. Okay, so once you get UFW installed, what do? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to deny all incoming traffic, right? So sudo UFW default deny incoming. Okay, this is going to lock you down. Okay, this is going to basically make anything incoming, is going to block it, right? You have to make an exception for it, right? So this is a golden hardening principle, okay? Default deny, explicit allow, okay? Then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to allow outgoing traffic, right? So sudo UFW default allow outgoing, okay? Now, this will allow you to connect outwards, right? Browsing, getting your updates, DNS stuff. You can lock this down though, right? Like if you want very strict OPSEC, you can lock this down too. But for everyday use, allowing outgoing makes your system functional. Okay, and you can load in different profiles, right? So later on, there's going to be a demo, and I'm also going to show you how to back up your UFW profiles. I have a bunch of different ones. I actually have one just for streaming, which you'll see. But yeah, you can load in these different profiles based on what task you're doing at that time. All right, now ports. Let's actually talk about services. Okay, so let's talk about SSH. Okay, so if you need SSH, you can explicitly allow it, and to do that, you do sudo UFW allow 22 TCP. Right, 22 is the default port for SSH. I change that. That's something that we're going to talk about in later videos. I always change my default ports for common things like SSH, level of stacking, but for right now, we'll work with this, okay? If you don't use SSH, just keep it blocked, okay? Now, once you have some rules defined, you have to enable, okay? So sudo UFW enable. It doesn't become enabled by default. You got to turn it on, and then it will also persist through system startup. Now, let's check out the rules that we've added. Okay, so sudo UFW status verbose. Okay, we'll see here that we're active. We got our 22, and we also have our defaults, right? So we're denying incoming, we're allowing outgoing, and we have logging on, which I'll talk about in a moment. Okay, so now opening specific ports. Okay, so we just did that with SSH. But say that say that we need a web server, right? And we need people to be able to connect to that, and we need to open port 8080. Okay, so we could just do sudo UFW allow 8080 TCP, right? We're good. We got that. So this means if there's a service on 8080, the firewall is going to let external systems connect to it. If no service is running on that port, this isn't going to do anything. You got to have a service running on a port to accept a connection, or you're not going to get a connection. So yeah. Then okay, so TCP, right? So what if we wanted to allow UDP, right? So we could do sudo UFW allow 51820 UDP. Okay, and that'll allow our UDP protocol. Okay, we can also do ranges, right? A little handy if you need to update a range, so you don't have to do every one manually. All right, so sudo UFW allow, and then you do your starting port, your colon, your end port, and then your protocol. Okay, and there it is, and then that's going to show up right there, right? Okay, and this is IPv4, this is IPv6, guys, if you're wondering what that is, okay? Now, what else? Oh yeah, you can also filter by IP. This is great for things like SSH, right? Where like, okay, I want SSH, I need it for me, but I don't want anyone else to use it. So you can just assign to only allow your IP address to connect to it. And you can do that through sudo ufw allow from, and then you can do, I'm just gonna bump that up one. Allow from whatever your IP address is, and then to any port 22 proto TCP. Okay, so a little bit more complicated command, but you know, basically you're allowing, so this is just referring to your network interfaces. This just, you know, instead of, you can just assign it to any network interface, and then proto is just the protocol selector, right? You know, TCP, UDP, whatever. You know, that's all that is. And if you guys don't know about internet protocols, I will be making a video on that at some point, but you need to go learn about that stuff. You know, so the internet speaks in these different languages, TCP one, UDP another. And so proto TCP just tells UFW which language this rule applies to, right? So proto TCP means this rule only applies to TCP traffic, not UDP traffic, okay? Then if we want to delete a rule, you can do UFW sudo, UFW delete, and we'll just do the 8080. Check it out. We'll see 8080 is gone. Now, logging. You need to turn logging on, right? So the way that you do this is sudo UFW logging. Now, I always set my logging to high, okay? And you see that on the screen when my logging is set to high, right? So this tells UFW to report blocked packets to the system's logging service, okay? On modern Debian systems, that's systemd-journald. Our syslog is no longer used. Journald stores logs in a structured binary journal instead of writing everything to syslog, okay? So I like capturing everything. To me, logging low, which if you just did sudo UFW logging on, it would set it to low. I don't see the point. It doesn't really provide enough information in my opinion. Medium is okay. I always do high, right? Now, also important to note, UFW does per rule logging, right? Logging is not automatic for all your rules. In the demo, I'll show you an example of how to set this up, how to ensure that you will get logs written for that particular protocol. Now, another thing that I do that you don't need a firewall for, I block pings, right? ICMP echoes. You should know the ping command, right? And ping's not a port, right? It's a diagnostic tool that uses the ICMP protocol, not TCP, not UDP. When you block ping, you're blocking ICMP echo requests. You're not blocking a port, right? And also, ping doesn't carry any data. It's just checking if someone's at home, all right? Now, in Debian, you don't need a firewall rule for this. You can't actually do this in the UFW that you pull from the Debian repo. I think the Ubuntu repo of UFW has an ICMP thing, but Debian doesn't. The maintainers kind of don't want you to micromanage ICMP from inside UFW. They kind of, it's basically we make the kernel ignore pings completely, right? So, and to do that, you can do this command right here. Okay, this is going to survive system upgrades. It'll keep Debian stable. For blocking pings, this is the cleanest option. Okay, and this blocks it at the kernel level. And I'll show you an example of this working here shortly. Now, another thing that you can do is you can limit. You can rate limit. And so this is another great, like for SSH, right? Stacking the security, right? So you can do sudo UFW limit SSH. And then if you look at the rule, right, you'll see limit, right? You see under the 22 rule, you see limit in, okay? So once again, this is that stacking security. With SSH, you can change the port number, you can set up a specific IP, and you can rate limit, right? Be paranoid. Okay, stack these things. All right, so that's one thing you can do. Now, if someone tries to brute force SSH, it's going to rate limit them, right? And like I said, each of these things doesn't solve the solution by itself. You got to stack them. All right, now backing up your config, right? So like I said, what you can do is you can come in here and, like, for instance, right? So you'll see here, these are for Sunshine. I use Sunshine to stream, and these rules here are set up to basically allow me to film this, or else it's going to get blocked. So I have a separate profile that I use to load in those rules. And when this video is over, I'm going to go back to my super hardened one, right, and close all these off. So I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so backing these up, right? So you want to be able to back up your different profiles, and then you can load them in very easily based on the work that you're doing. So to back these up, what I do is you can just do here, right? And you've got, so let me show you this actually first. So what you have is we will do ls, la, and then we'll do, so it's etsy, and then it's under UFW, and then here we go, right? So these, you're concerned about your user 6 rules and your user rules. These are the ones that you want to back up. These are the rules these are the custom rules you create that you load in. Okay, so what you can do is you can do sudo cp, and then you can back up those rules, right? So you want to back up your user rules, and you want to have the same name, just add backup on the end of it, right? So user rules backup, and then you do user rules 6 ufw.user rules. Sorry, you want this to be user, right? Name the same thing with just backup on the end. So user.rules6 backup, and then user.rules, back that up as user.rules backup. And what I do is I have these stored in a directory with subdirectories where I just can load these rules in right real quick based on the work that I'm doing. And then to load these in, you just swap this, right? You take your backed up rules and you just overwrite the rules in the UFW directory. And then you have to do sudo UFW, reload, okay? And that will load up, that'll ensure that when you load that new profile in, everything's good. And also, guys, if you go in and you mess up UFW or some way and you just kind of want to reset it back to the default, you can do sudo UFW reset, and that'll reset UFW back to its default state when you installed it. Okay, so let's do a quick demo and show you this stuff in action. Okay, so first thing, the easiest thing to do is to check ping. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have another machine open here. I'm going to clear. All right, and then we're going to ping. Actually, yeah. Okay. And we see we're not getting anything back, right, because of that command that we ran. The kernel is completely ignoring these ping requests, and that will eventually time out, right? So we're good there. Our ping, we are successfully blocking ping. Now, we're going to turn on logging. Okay, so you can see logging. Okay, now we can do sudo. This is how you turn it on, right? Now, on Debian systems that use systemd, journald, UFW's packet logs show up as kernel messages, right? Rather than being written to syslog like they were back in the day, all right? So, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this. So I'm going to split this up, okay? And then we're going to do, I'm going to turn on logging. There we go, right? That's what we're being logged. Now, let's go in and let's add a rule. Okay, we're going to do sudo UFW allow 9090 TCP. All right. Okay. Now, I'm going to open up netcat there. Now here, on my other machine, I'm going to go ahead and connect, and I'm going to hit test. Right? So you see here, I am connected using netcat and I passed test. So it went through, okay? We don't want that. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to say sudo ufw delete allow 9090. Now I'm going to do sudo ufw deny log 90. That's where that is, right? So that's it, log, right? That is going to tell UFW to log this rule. Okay, so we're going to do that. Set that up. Rule added. I am going to start netcat back up on my other machine. I am going to connect again and hit test, and you see there, got blocked, right? You see block, block, block. And you'll see here I tried to connect and also nothing came through. So we're good. All right, guys, that's it for this particular one. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you guys learned a lot. Ask respectable questions to get respectable answers. Help each other out in the comments. If you have any questions about this stuff, anything at all, hit me up. Once again, thanks to all you new folks for coming on board. Hope you stick around and get a lot out of this, trying to build a community here. And thanks to you OGs for sticking around too. And I'll see you all in the next one. All right, thanks guys.